This video presents the historical development of realism in education together with the key thinkers and their respective contributions. The development of realism in education reflects humanity's growing appreciation for the tangible world, experience, and scientific inquiry. This philosophy has profoundly shaped modern science, curriculum design, and experiential learning, emphasizing that education should prepare individuals to live intelligently and effectively in the real world. Across history, realists have sought to ground education in observation, reason, and practical activity rather than abstract speculation. Let's start with the individual who is regarded as the father of realism, Aristotle. In ancient Greece, during his time, realism arose as a response to Plato's idealism, shifting focus from abstract ideas to the concrete world of nature and experience. Aristotle established the empirical basis of realism, shaping the scientific method and educational practices focused on observation and logical reasoning. His ideas remain central to rational and evidence-based learning. Aristotle rejected Plato's theory of forms, holding that reality exists in the natural world and can be known through observation and reasoning. For him, education should cultivate rational thinking grounded in observation of the physical world. He promoted studies in biology, ethics, politics, and logic to develop well-rounded and virtuous individuals. St. Thomas Aquinas is also part of realism. During his time in medieval Europe, realism was integrated into Christian theology, emphasizing that the material world is real and divinely ordered. Aquinas strengthened realism's intellectual foundation within church, ensuring that faith and reason coexisted in education. His synthesis shaped medieval and early modern learning, promoting disciplined, logical thought. Aquinas united Aristotelian realism with Christian doctrine, teaching that the world is both real and knowable because it reflects divine reason. For him, education should train the intellect to understand natural reality and divine truth, emphasizing systematic reasoning and harmony between faith and knowledge. Roger Bacon is an empirical realist. During his time in the later Middle Ages, realism began to take an experimental turn influenced by growing interest in empirical science. Roger Bacon helped move realism towards scientific empiricism, anticipating the experimental methods that would later define modern science and education. Bacon emphasized observation, experimentation, and empirical evidence as the true paths to knowledge, challenging blind reliance on authority. For him, education should promote discovery through experimentation and direct study of nature, cultivating a spirit of inquiry and verification. We have here Francis Bacon, who is considered as a father of modern empiricism. In the Renaissance, during his time, realism aligned with scientific humanism, emphasizing observation in the usefulness of knowledge for human advancement. Francis Bacon founded the modern empirical approach, positioning education as an instrument for progress and innovation. His methods remain the foundation of scientific and experiential learning. He rejected abstract speculation, arguing that knowledge must be based on observation, induction, and experimentation. For him, education should have a curriculum that would focus on science, the arts, and practical inquiry, encouraging students to learn through experience and observation. The next individual is an educational realism pioneer, John Amos Comenius. During his time, realism evolved into a pedagogical movement, emphasizing sensory experience and practical instruction for all learners. Comenius made realism accessible and humane, transforming it into an inclusive, child-centered approach that continues to influence modern teaching methods and visual learning. He believed education should follow the natural order of learning, starting from concrete experience and progressing to abstract understanding. For him, education must promote learning by doing, using pictures, real objects, and sensory activities, advocating universal education for both sexes and for all social classes. The next thinker is very famous in education, John Locke. During his time in the Enlightenment age, he saw realism expanding into empiricism, emphasizing experience as the foundation of knowledge. Locke's thought established the psychological foundation of modern realism, influencing educational theories that prioritize experience and environmental influence over innate ideas. Locke proposed that the mind is a tabula rasa, or blank slate, formed entirely through sensory experience and reflection. For him, education should emphasize practical learning, discipline, and physical health, preparing individuals for rational, moral, and social life. Jean-Jacques Rousseau also has contributions to realism. During his time, realism was becoming child-centered, emphasizing the natural development of learners through direct interaction with their environment. Rousseau humanized realism, shaping modern child-centered and experiential education. His vision of natural development influenced later progressive education movements. He believed that nature is the primary teacher and that learning should unfold according to a child's natural growth. For him, education should promote experiential and individualized learning, freedom, and development through real-life experiences. Next is Herbert Spencer, a scientific realist. During his time, realism aligned with Darwinism and evolutionary thought, emphasizing science and survival in an industrial society. Spencer reinforced the idea that education must serve social and biological needs, influencing vocational and scientific education in the modern era. He applied evolutionary principles to human knowledge, holding that useful knowledge supports adaptation and progress. For him, education must advocate science, mathematics, and practical subjects to prepare learners for real-world challenges. John Stuart Mill, an empirical utilitarian realist. During his time, realism was becoming social and ethical, connecting empirical study with civic responsibility and moral development. Mill expanded realism into the moral and social sphere, promoting education for personal autonomy and collective good, which are key ideas in modern civic and liberal education. Mill emphasized the importance of experience and critical thought for developing moral independence and social awareness. For him, education should foster critical thinking, personal liberty, and social responsibility. John Dewey. During his time in the 20th century, realism evolved into pragmatism, linking truth to practical experience and problem solving. Dewey modernized realism by connecting experience, reflection, and social interaction, shaping experiential and democratic education worldwide. For him, reality is dynamic and interactive. Knowledge develops through action and reflection on real-life experiences. For him, education should be progressive, where students learn by doing, collaborating, and solving meaningful problems in democratic classroom teachings. We have here Bertrand Russell. During his time, realism was influenced by analytical philosophy, focusing on logic, mathematics, and scientific reasoning. Russell advanced realism into the age of logic and analysis, promoting education as a disciplined pursuit of truth grounded in reason and evidence. Russell held that reality should be studied through logical analysis and scientific method, rejecting metaphysical speculation. For him, education must advocate rational inquiry and liberalism, combining scientific precision with humanistic understanding. The present continuing influence of realism tells us that realist principles remain evident in today's standards-based education, scientific inquiry, and evidence-driven instruction. The focus on factual knowledge, measurable outcomes, and empirical study continues to guide curriculum development. Realism also influences STEM education and database assessment practices, underscoring the enduring belief that learning should mirror objective reality. The history of realism in education reveals a continuous effect to align learning with life itself. Realism has insisted that education must reflect reality and prepare learners to engage with it intelligently. Its focus on experience, science, and practical knowledge transformed education into a tool for both personal growth and social progress. As modern society faces complex challenges, the realist tradition reminds us that education must be grounded in truth, evidence, and real-world application, and that this remains the surest path to understanding and improvement. This has been the historical development of realism in education. For more helpful videos in related education courses, you may subscribe to this channel. Thank you in advance.